Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maura, if you guys did not know, if this is your first time tuning in. I read a lot of books, and that's why we're here. However, sometimes I read series, for example, and I don't finish them. Or I read the first book in a series, and then I just never pick up the rest. Not because I didn't like it, but just because I want to jump around a little bit. I don't know. I don't know why I do these things. I recently just finished a few different series, so I decided why not try to get through some more and make some progress here. I will say, I had already started filming this video but never made a proper intro, so that's what I'm doing right now. Some of the clips disappeared. Don't know what happened. Don't know what happened. For the first little segment of this video, I'm gonna be popping in and out and explaining the book, what I thought about it. I think there's only one book that this happened for, but we'll have to see. I'll double check. The first book I was reading was The Final Offer. I was wanting to finish the Dreamland Billionaire series. I had read the fine print. I'd never continued, but I knew I liked it. I just kept pushing it off and saying I would get around to it. But then Love Redesigned came out a few months ago. I read that, loved it, and so I was like, I need to go back and finish the Dreamland Billionaire series by Lauren Asher. That's what I did. I read Terms and Conditions, and then I read Final Offer, and this is where we left off. Hey, today I started the Final Offer, and I am 65 pages through. I have a headache right now. Oh my god, it's 2:22 right now, 2:22 p.m. It's taking me a while to get through it only because I have a headache. That's literally it. Like, I really like this one, and I think it's my favorite so far. The fine print, I wasn't a huge fan of certain things happening, and I felt like it was really repetitive in ways that it didn't need to be. So I gave it like a 3.5 star, which was really tough because I mentioned in a different vlog that I was like not gonna do half-star ratings anymore unless it was like between a 4.5 and a 5, because that's like a big decision. But I just couldn't decide if it was a 3 or 4, so I was like, this one, it's a 3.5. I gave Terms and Conditions a 4. I really liked that one. I liked the tropes, I liked everything. It just wasn't like it wasn't like a 5 star, you know? I liked the characters bond with each other, but I personally didn't feel like an emotional connection to the couple. I liked their connection, but I didn't feel like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm probably not gonna think about them again. That's that. The Final Offer, this is interesting. I like this, and I like a guy with issues. So I'm enjoying this so far. It's the thickest of the 3 books, but after this, I think I'm gonna read A Court of Silver Flames, which is a big commitment. So that's why I like really want to try to finish this today. But this is what I'm reading right now. I do really like it. I like the character's connection in this more than the other ones, and I like that they have a history. I'm not usually like a second chance romance kind of guy. I think because there's like a clear issue of what happened, and it wasn't just like, oh, it just didn't work. Like, there's a clear issue of why they didn't work out, you know? I'm looking forward to this. And this, I read the Dreamland Billionaire series. I started it, and then I read Love Redesigned, and this is heavily like Love Redesigned sister book, kind of. It's not in the same series as the Dreamland Billionaire series, but it is heavily connected to this and kind of like the idea of the homes in like Wisteria, if that makes sense. So if you've read The Final Offer and you've read Love Redesigned, you know what I'm trying to say here. They kind of cross over a little bit, but I'm liking this a lot so far. I have a raging headache though, but it's okay. So I never continued talking about this book. I really liked this one. This one is definitely my favorite out of the trilogy. I just loved Callahan. I liked seeing his struggle. Sounds bad, hang on. I liked seeing his struggle and seeing how he wanted to become a better person, a better man, a better father figure, a better boyfriend, I guess is what they were. Really enjoyed this one. Probably my favorite book that Lauren Asher has ever written. I believe I gave it 4.5 stars. It was a little bit ago. The only reason why it was not a 5 star, same third act conflict happened in every single book. By the third book, like, I knew what was gonna end up happening. It was literally the exact same in every single one, and I think that if things had been a little bit different, it easily could have been a 5 star. Like, it's a childhood friend to lovers to exes to lovers again. Like, the tropes in it were everything I liked. Everything was so beautiful, and I really enjoyed the characters and the plot, but the conflict was the exact same. Like, can we please change things up? I know the brothers are going through like the same issue in their own individual elements. Can we like have a little bit of extra oomph? Like, I just need a little bit more. But I did love Callahan's relationship with the girls. If you know, you know. I really enjoyed this book. I would highly recommend this series. It is such an easy read, but so fun. Here's what I'm doing right now. I started listening to A Court of Silver Flame, okay? You know me, watched any of my videos, you know I don't like audiobooks. However, an 800, 900 page book, I was like, I'm gonna listen to this, okay? So I started listening to it. First audiobook that I don't hate, okay? I really enjoyed it. I'm having a good time. I'm loving the plot, loving the book, right? And then Spotify says, just kidding, you're out of hours. I'm only halfway through the book, so now tonight I need to read the other 400-ish pages. I just don't understand, like, how are you, Spotify, and going to say, okay, you get to listen to audiobook included with premium. I already pay for premium. And then you're gonna give me a limited amount of hours and not make it a way for me to like buy more hours. I'd rather just buy more hours. Like, anyways, I'm loving it. It's so good. I love it. It's in third person if you haven't read it yet, but I didn't think I would like it because it's third person. I think it's a little bit better, honestly. Perhaps that's just me, but I'm loving it. I'm watching hockey right now, and I look rough. It's 6:42 right now. Do we think I could finish? It's the lesser half, like on the bottom. Do we think I can finish? I'm literally filming my wrap up tomorrow, so I'm like, I need to be done. I love this, but I need to be done. Hey, let me crack open a can. I finished reading A Court of Silver Flames a few days ago. I think like 2 days ago, right? No, 3 days ago, I think. 5-star. Like, she was so good. And the only reason I'm telling you my rating for that one is because the wrap up that I talk about it in is already out. You guys already know what I rated it. I just ate it up. Start to finish, I was obsessed. I didn't really film too much of me like actually reading it because I was listening to it the whole time. And then when I started reading it, I was like too invested to like worry about getting B-roll of me reading, you know what I mean? I will say, feels good to be caught up in that series, but it is also kind of sucky because now I have to like wait with everyone else for the next book to come out. But I'm gonna start the Throne of Glass series. Yesterday I did start and get 176 pages into Things We Hide from the Light. I'm not a huge fan of this series, if I'm being so honest. I don't think this is my kind of series. Like, I don't know, I feel like there's so much going on that it's like chaotic and like I can't follow along with everything as well as I would like to, but I am liking Nash more than I'm liking Knox. I will say that, like, if you know, you know. This one follows Nash and Lena is Knox's ex-girlfriend, so like Nash knows her. It's like they're forming like an actual like their own one-on-one type of relationship. Like, not relationship meaning like literally they're a couple, but relationship like getting to know each other kind of relationship, you feel? I am liking it, just like it's not like doing much for me. I'm just like, oh, this is interesting, but like it's not really like hitting yet. But then again, these books are like 700 pages, 600 pages. These books do not need to be this long. Like, there's just no reason for it. I really want to finish this one today because then I have the last book. Can I say something that I feel like some people have to agree with me on? I just like audibly gasped. I read this sentence, ready? Chief Nash Morgan, age 41. I am reading about a 41-year-old man. Like, I feel wrong. Like, I feel like this is wrong. What does he look like? Let's go on Pinterest and see. Oh, suddenly I don't care anymore. Wait. Okay, but this is Pinterest. Like, everybody's gonna pick like the hottest guy, right? We're good. Guys, we're good. We're good. I'm a Nash stan now. I went from like being disgusted to suddenly like, where is he at? Ugh, just like something about reading that sentence like really did something gross to my soul. Like, at least we know he's hot though. I finished reading Things We Hide from the Light. I have really nothing to say about this book other than the fact that I don't think Lucy scores for me. I've read 3 of her books so far and I just don't like them. I read Things We Never Got Over, which I liked a little bit more than this, Things We Hide from the Light, and I read By a Thread. None of them are more than a 3-star. This one I don't even know what to rate it, and then what's the other one? By a Thread, I gave 1 star. I think these ones are just not for me. I don't like the characters that she writes. I don't like the things they say. Like, this is the last sentence of this book. It's not a spoiler, but this is the last sentence. It says, you know, I mused, it's a good thing you have a nice round ass. Like, okay, thanks, I guess. Another one is, I could practically hear him stroking his mustache like it was a pet cat. I did my best to relax my ass cheeks. What? Remember how I said Nash is like super hot? You know what? He is. However, the things he says, like, what are you talking about? He said, I'm an idiot, an asshole, an idiot asshole. And he proceeded to call himself an idiot asshole multiple times throughout the rest of the chapter. Like, what is going on in this? I thought from the back that this would be really, really interesting. And honestly, the plot has so much potential, but the characters and the way they talk and the way they treat each other, it's like, isn't it? Suddenly, like, obviously this is a romance. This cannot count as a spoiler unless it's like the most insane plot twist ever, but they have a romantic relationship and out of nowhere they're just engaged with no like proper ask. What? I don't know. They literally were just like solely physical, and I just hate books where they go from having a solely physical relationship to suddenly being in love. And it's like, you aren't in love. You are in love with their body. Everyone I've read, they just go from like having a physical relationship to suddenly being in love. Like, do you actually know anything about each other? Not a fan. Not a fan. But I also think I'm a little bit burnt out of romances, which I don't know if I have ever felt that way before. Normally it's not an issue for me, but I'm a little bit burnt out. I'm currently in the middle of like 5 books because romances just aren't hitting for me. So I'm going to be starting Assassin's Blade. Now listen, this is the Throne of Glass series. Apparently there are many different ways to read this series. I'm starting with Assassin's Blade because apparently this is the most gut-wrenching. Like, when you get to, I guess, some of the more intense elements of this character's story, people say that starting with Assassin's Blade and like seeing how she progresses as a character, because this came out after Throne of Glass. I don't know exactly the order, but this came out after Throne of Glass, which was published first. But this is kind of like when you watch Star Wars, like 3, 4, and 5 came out in like the 70s, and then 1, 2, and 3 came out in the 2000s, but 1, 2, and 3 come first. They came out after. That's the whole situation with this. People say that if you read this first, it apparently has like a harder reaction out of you because, spoiler alert, if you've never seen Star Wars or don't know the story for God knows what reason, you start out 3, 4, 5 learning about Luke, and then you find out Darth Vader is his dad, and then you're like, oh my god, what the heck? How did we get here? Then the prequels came out after that to be like, here's Anakin Skywalker, here's his story, here he is as a little boy, here's all the trauma he went through, and here he is in Revenge of the Sith, looking hot as ever, becoming Darth Vader. And then if you watch it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you're like, wow, this was really just like a sad, beaten down character. I want that same effect in here. I want to know from the start how she was to be able to go into the series further and say, okay, girlie was going through it. I think starting here and like gaining a background first before diving into like an 8-book series is just better for my understanding, but also for the evolution of the characters in my brain. So that's what we're doing. I'm starting with Assassin's Blade. I'm gonna start right now, probably take a nap at some point today, watch hockey as always, and then I'll update you guys when it happens. I'm literally on the 2nd page of this book, but I just have to say the way that Sarah J. Maas makes FMCs unmatched. This says, when she was 10, she fed his horse a bag of candy, talking about some guy that got caught. I'm literally on page 2, like I don't know anything yet. And he'd thrown a dagger at her head for it. She'd caught the dagger, of course. And ever since, Gregory had borne the scar on his cheek from her return throw. This girl was 10 years old. You know what I was doing at 10 years old? Making up my own dances to One Direction songs. Me again, this is current day. Read in one sitting last night, Assassin's Blade, and I quickly rated it on Goodreads and I gave it a 4-star. Now that I've sat on it, I think this is a 4.5. The only reason it's not a 5 stars is because this is a prequel novella situation. We don't know a whole lot. Oh, I love how the lighting just like went out. I'm just gonna keep going. So obviously you might be looking at this being like, girl, that is not a novella. There's like 4 in here, okay? This is like 500 pages, but it's a novella series, trust, okay? So this is following Selena, talking about her as this assassin, this fighter. She's 16 years old when we start in here. She's so smart, super skilled. And what I love the most about Sarah J. Maas is the fact that she writes these powerful women who don't need men, who don't need to rely on anybody else, who literally will put all of their feelings aside so that they can be the best that they can be. And that is me. I love you, Sarah J. Maas. I love you. I'm actually going to send her, when I get married, she's getting a wedding invite. You know, people do that. They send like wedding invitations to like Chick-fil-A so that Chick-fil-A sends them stuff. I'm sending it to Sarah J. Maas, and if she comes in and objects, my man is out the door. Out the door. Loved this so much. The only reason I didn't give it a 5 stars is because it is the start of the story and the start of an 8-book series. Now, when I was starting A Court of Thorns and Roses, I gave that a 5 star. I gave it a 5 star because I kind of knew things that were going to be happening in the series. I kind of was like anticipating it being a 5 star, so I gave it a 5 star. Looking back, I could have rated that 4. Like, I could have knocked that down a little bit. With the Throne of Glass series, everybody talks this up so much, and I'm going in blind, and I really want to feel my own feelings towards it. All I know about this series is that it's about this powerful girl. That's all I know, and I want to keep it that way. I gave this a 4.5. Now, obviously, that's still really close to a 5, but I know that other books in this 8-book series so far. Is this series over? I think it's over. Is it over? I don't know if it is. I might be lying. This is a long series, her longest so far. What I want to say about this is that I'm going to be rating this one 4.5 because yes, it was so good, and I'm gonna think about it for the rest of my life. I know there's other books in this series that are better. I know it. I just know it. Also, if you guys are not aware of this, this is her first book that she ever wrote. I'm not sure about Assassin's Blade, but I know Throne of Glass is like the first book that she ever really wrote. She wrote it when she was like 14 years old. Girl, can you imagine having that brain and mapping out this series at 14 years old? You know what I was doing at 14 years old? Probably writing fan fiction. I was not writing bees. I wasn't doing what she was doing. That's all I'm gonna say. Girly may have been writing, but it was nothing like this. I think this is where I'm going to end off this video. I did read a few series. Is it series or series? Whatever. I read a few books in this video, and I really enjoyed these books. Majority. There was one that I did not enjoy. It's not that I didn't like it. It could have been better. I think I was low-key in a romance lump, and now I need to be in fantasy again. Like, this is what I need, because fantasy love stories are just so much more angst. There's so much more tension and uncertainty, and I prefer that now over just like a predictable love story where I know they're just like gonna get together and be in love. And I also think I spoke incorrectly. I think I said that this was either the first or second book that you read in the series, but it's the first or third. I will say I'm very glad that I read this first, because I said this when I was starting it, and I mentioned like Star Wars and how that's set up. I think this being read first is so important because it gives you an understanding with how this leaves off and how much hope she has for being skilled and just this powerful assassin at such a young age. Going into the rest of the series, I don't know what to anticipate. Don't tell me anything. What I will say is reading this first and knowing the way it leaves off, and then seeing how she, like, her emotions might potentially be turned off in the future, and then how the future love stories end up coming in, I'm going to devour it. So if you want that experience, read this first, 100%. 100%. Like I said, I have plenty of other books I need to read to knock out some series. I'm doing better about getting through them all. I'm not just like picking one up and starting another one and then like, I guess I did that here, but this is okay. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys when I see you.